My birthday was ruined and I didn't think I'd survive this level of chaos. I had been planning my birthday for months. Not exactly Pinterest level, but meticulous enough that I was confident I could pull off a day that felt genuinely mine. No surprises I didn't want, no last-minute chaos. Just good food, good friends, and my boyfriend Chuck, because he always knew how to make me laugh when things got tense this year. I rented a small event space downtown. I wanted it to be cozy, with fairy lights strung across the ceiling, a few scattered candles, and a table with all my favorite snacks. Think chocolate-covered pretzels, a cheese board that looked like a tiny art installation, and cupcakes so elaborate they practically demanded applause. I had even spent weeks picking out a playlist that would take us from mellow vibes to upbeat, danceable energy, all while sneaking in a few songs that held personal meaning. It was supposed to be perfect. Chuck was helping me set up. He was quietly untangling fairy lights while humming off-key, occasionally dropping a strand and then picking it up again with clumsy cuteness. I watched him from across the room, my stomach curling with this warm, almost ridiculous kind of happiness. "You're weirdly meticulous about lights," he said, squinting at one strand that drooped just slightly. "And you love it," I shot back, rolling my eyes. I knew he did. Chuck was the type to notice the small details and quietly appreciate them. Even when I fussed over the placement of every cupcake, he would just smile, grab a napkin, and help me straighten the frosting without a single complaint. Everything felt perfect. That is until Madison arrived. I don't even want to think of her as my friend, but she has this annoying way of weaseling herself into social situations. The type of person who laughs too loud, always has to be the center of attention, and seems to have a radar for the things that made people happiest and a burning desire to destroy them. Madison didn't just walk in. She practically marched. "Lily!" she shrieked, like she hadn't seen me in years, even though we had texted a week ago. I forced a smile. Chuck, thankfully, was oblivious. Still untangling lights, she immediately planted herself near the food table, like a vulture circling a carcass. "Oh my God, Lily! These cupcakes! Are they homemade? They're perfect," she said, eyes narrowing just slightly when I beamed at her. That narrowing, like she was calculating how to make me miserable, set off a tiny alarm in my brain. Madison had this way of inserting herself into the exact moment that would hurt the most. She didn't need to say anything overtly mean. She just existed, loud and gleaming, drawing attention away from everyone else. I could feel the tension growing in my chest, a tight knot forming that I couldn't quite shake, and then it started. Madison decided it would be hilarious to accidentally knock over my drink table. Not just a little spill, it was a full-on splash zone. The sparkling water went everywhere, drenching the bottom row of cupcakes. People gasped. I froze. Chuck whipped around, eyes wide. "Seriously?" I hissed under my breath, grabbing napkins. Madison acted innocent. "Oh my gosh, I'm so clumsy. I'm so sorry." But there was this gleam in her eye that made my stomach twist. She wasn't sorry. She never was. By the time I managed to clean up the disaster, my carefully curated setup had been tarnished. The cupcakes were soggy, the candles slightly leaning, and a few of the fairy lights had fallen from their hooks. My friends tried to reassure me, but I could feel the tension creeping in. I knew she would escalate things if I didn't find a way to protect my day. Chuck stayed by my side the whole time, trying to calm me. "Don't let her ruin this, Lily. Just breathe. You've got this." I nodded, trying to smile through the frustration. But deep down I could feel the looming storm of Madison's chaos. She had a way of multiplying problems, turning little annoyances into full-blown disasters. And I had a horrible feeling she hadn't finished yet. I tried to distract myself by checking the setup. The lights were fine. The table looked mostly okay. The cupcakes could survive if I patched the frosting a bit. But even as I wiped the last droplet of water from the floor, I couldn't help but feel a tickle of dread for the night to come by. The time the music started, Madison was in her element. She had befriended half my friends, laughing at jokes she hadn't even heard, making them forget it was my birthday. It was subtle, like a thief in the night, except instead of stealing wallets, she was stealing attention. My attention, my happiness, my control. Chuck leaned over. Don't worry, we can handle her, he whispered. Handle her? I muttered. Chuck, she's a force of nature. And I wasn't exaggerating. She somehow convinced the DJ to play songs she liked instead of the playlist I had painstakingly curated. One by one, my friends were caught up in her whirlwind, dancing and laughing in a way that completely excluded me. I tried to join in, but every time I did, Madison was there, smiling, shining, cutting in like she was the sun and I was a shadow. I decided I needed a plan. I couldn't just let her dominate the entire night. But what could I do without being obvious? Calling her out in front of everyone would make me look petty. Letting her continue would ruin my birthday entirely. Then it happened. Madison grabbed my birthday cake, not to admire it, not to help. She decided to make a joke out of it. She held it aloft, spinning it slightly, and a bead of frosting hit the floor. My mouth went dry. My friends gasped. Chuck looked like he might actually lose. Madison! I shouted. She laughed, this cruel, high-pitched laugh. Relax, Lily, it's just a cake. Just a cake. I shouted, my voice cracking. It's my birthday cake. By the time I grabbed the cake from her hands, it was a mess. Half of the top tier was smashed and there were smudges all over the frosting. I felt my heart sink. Chuck put a hand on my shoulder, steadying me. It's okay, he said softly. But it wasn't. Not really. I could feel my friends' eyes on me, some of them sympathetic, some unsure of how to react. Madison, of course, was the picture of innocence, laughing and talking like she hadn't just destroyed the centerpiece of my carefully planned party. Somehow, she managed to pull the attention back to herself, making my outrage seem ridiculous, turning me into the unreasonable one. I felt cornered, frustrated, and furious. It was because this wasn't just an accident. This was deliberate. She wanted to ruin my birthday, and now I realized if I didn't fight back, there would be nothing left of the day I had been looking forward to and planning for months. I glanced at Chuck. He was quiet, jaw tight, clearly thinking. We need to salvage this, he whispered. We can't let her win. I nodded, steeling myself. I had no idea how, but I wasn't letting Madison control my birthday. Not completely. Not this year. After the cake disaster, I felt a storm of emotions swirling inside me. Anger, embarrassment, disbelief, and frustration. I had spent months planning this day, and it felt like Madison had waltzed in just to rip it all apart. Chuck stayed by my side, quiet but solid, and I clung to that. He was my anchor, the one person who seemed untouchable by her chaos. I'm going to fix this, I said, my voice trembling slightly. Chuck raised an eyebrow. You want to confront her? No, I said quickly. Not directly. We need a subtle plan. Something that lets everyone enjoy the night without her ruining it. We started with small moves. I pulled in a few of my closest friends who hadn't been completely seduced by Madison's energy and gave them small jobs, helping with music, moving decorations, and discreetly redirecting attention when Madison tried to pull focus. It was like herding cats, but slowly I felt the tide beginning to turn. Madison was relentless. Every time I thought we were making progress, she would swoop in with a laugh, a joke, or some perfectly timed comment that sucked the energy away from me. She had this terrifying ability to sense exactly where I felt most vulnerable and attack. She wasn't malicious in an obvious way. It was her subtlety that made her dangerous. She would steal moments, twist them, make me doubt myself, and then leave everyone else laughing. At one point, she convinced the DJ to play a song from her high school musical phase, something so cringy I couldn't even process it at first. My friends were on the dance floor, doing moves I hadn't seen since middle school, and I felt invisible. Chuck pulled me aside. Okay, deep breath, we can fix this. We? I muttered, yes, we. He insisted while smiling, though I could see his jaw tighten. You and me. We've got this. We started quietly redirecting the flow of the party. I grabbed my phone and started a group text with my closest friends. Help me reclaim this party. Meet by the dessert table in 5. It was ridiculous. but somehow it worked. Slowly, people started noticing that my mini command center was helping to organize things, moving the music back toward my playlist and gathering my friends near me, but Madison noticed her eyes narrowed when she saw the cluster forming. She approached like a predator, perfectly composed, holding a half-empty cup of punch. "What's going on over here?" she asked, voice dripping with fake sweetness. "Just trying to make sure everyone is having fun," I said, trying to sound casual, but I could feel my pulse racing. "Oh, sweet," she said, tilting her head. "I love fun. But fun should be spontaneous, right? Not orchestrated." Her tone made it clear. She knew exactly what we were doing, and she hated it, and then she did the unthinkable. She grabbed one of the remaining cupcakes from the now-repaired dessert table and squashed it with her fingers, smearing frosting across her palm. "Oops," she giggled, holding up the ruined cupcake like it was a trophy. I froze. My friends looked at her in shock. Chuck's eyes darkened and I could feel the tension in the room spike. "Madison," I said firmly, trying to keep my voice steady. "That's enough." She laughed again. "Enough? Lily, it's your party. You should lighten up. Everyone's having fun. See?" She gestured toward a small group that had already been drawn into her orbit. I felt a surge of determination. "No, not my party. Not my birthday. Not today." I leaned closer to Chuck. "We need a new plan." He nodded. "Yeah, let's reclaim the night." Chuck and I huddled briefly near the snack table, plotting our counterattack. Our goal wasn't to humiliate Madison publicly, though part of me wanted to. TT was to take back the energy of the party, to make it mine again. I took a deep breath. We do it subtly. Small victories. Redirect attention, get people laughing, make her feel out of control for once. Our first move was to start a small game, something spontaneous and lighthearted. I called out, "Okay everyone, impromptu. Scavenger hunt. Whoever finds the hidden chocolates on the tables first gets a free cupcake." The announcement drew immediate attention. Some friends, hesitant at first, perked up. Others started scanning the room, laughing and teasing each other. Madison, of course, tried to hijack the game immediately. She lunged for a chocolate piece. In the first 2 seconds, laughing loudly. But this time, Chuck and I were ready. We had strategically placed chocolates on shelves she couldn't easily reach. Every time she tried to dominate the game, she ended up missing the prizes entirely, while everyone else, including my friends I had been rallying, won small victories and laughter. I felt the energy shift slightly in my favor. It was subtle, but it worked. People were laughing with me again, not with Madison. Her forced charm started to crack under the pressure of our tiny, quiet rebellion. Next, we moved to the music. I whispered to the DJ, explaining which songs had the right energy to bring the party back under my control. Every song he played was a little victory. Chuck danced with me, guiding me back into the fun, reminding me that this was my night. And then it happened, the moment I didn't think would come. Madison tried to start a toast. She grabbed the microphone and began speaking, preparing to launch into some grand, attention-grabbing speech. I felt the room tilt toward her for a moment, but I stayed calm. I walked up to her slowly, smiling, and gently took the microphone from her. "Thank you, Madison, but I think it's my turn," I said softly. There was a beat of silence. People's eyes darted between us. And then I went into my speech. It was heartfelt, funny, and honest. I thanked everyone for coming, talked about my favorite memories, and even slipped in a joke about the cupcake disaster. People laughed. Genuinely this time. The attention shifted. Madison's face hardened, but the room no longer centered around her. I could feel it. My birthday finally was mine again. I glanced at Chuck, who winked. He knew exactly what I had done, exactly how I had handled her without drama, without confrontation. We were winning for the first time all night. Madison looked powerless. She tried a few small jabs, but each one bounced off. Everyone was invested in celebrating with me, not her. She eventually slumped back to the corner, muttering under her breath, watching the party continue without her interference, and, just like that, the night transformed. Laughter, dancing, and genuine smiles replaced the tension she had caused. My friends rallied around me, helping me salvage the damaged cupcakes, replacing the toppled decorations, and filling the room with warmth. Chuck stayed beside me the entire time, quietly reminding me that no matter how much chaos Madison caused, we could reclaim the night. It wasn't easy. Nothing about this birthday had been easy. But by the time the last song played, I was exhausted in the best way possible. Joyful, victorious, and genuinely happy. By the time the cake crumbs were mostly cleaned up and the fairy lights were untangled for the third time, I felt like I had finally found my footing. But deep down I knew Madison wasn't done. She had this way of lurking, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. She thrived on subtle chaos, the kind that leaves everyone else questioning themselves while she takes control. Sure enough, just as I was chatting with a group of friends about a funny high school memory, she swooped in again. This time, her target was Chuck. She waltzed up to him, laughing too loud at a joke only she found funny. Nudging him with her elbow as if they shared some secret I wasn't invited to. Felt my stomach twist. It was subtle, but it worked. Chuck glanced at me briefly, smiling apologetically, before she started talking again. I realized if I didn't act fast, she could undo all of our progress in an instant. Okay, I muttered under my breath. Let's end this. I gathered my friends one last time, whispering a simple plan. Follow my lead, stay positive, and don't engage with Madison directly. This time, we were going to outshine her completely. I grabbed the microphone again, asking everyone to gather around. All right, everyone. Before the night ends, I want to do one last thing, a birthday toast. But not just for me. For all of us being here, surviving chaos and still having fun. There was a cheer. Madison's eyes narrowed, realizing she couldn't hijack this one. I raised my glass and smiled, making eye contact with Chuck, who gave me a subtle nod. I continued. Tonight we've had some unexpected moments. I gestured to the slightly dented cake and scattered decorations. But the best part isn't the cake or the fairy lights. It's you all being here, making this birthday perfect, despite the chaos. Everyone clapped, some laughing at my joke about the frosting disaster. Madison's expression faltered. Her smile was forced while her plans crumbled as the room filled with genuine warmth. I kept going, letting my voice grow steadier with every word. Some people might think a birthday is about presents or decorations, or even the cake. But I've learned tonight that it's really about the people you share it with and the people who stick by you when things go sideways. Chuck squeezed my hand. You're doing great, he whispered. And let's be honest, I added with a grin. A little chaos isn't always bad. It just makes the victories even sweeter. The laughter in the room swelled. People were genuinely enjoying themselves again. Madison tried a few small interruptions, waving her hands, attempting to make a joke, but no one laughed. It was like she had lost her power overnight. Everyone was focused on the moment of me reclaiming my birthday, then a bold move. I pointed to Chuck. And this amazing guy? He's my co-pilot in surviving birthdays, parties, and life in general. Thanks for keeping me sane, even when things get tricky. Chuck blushed but gave me a wink. The room echoed with laughter. And cheers. Madison tried to respond and redirect attention to herself, but it was too late. The room belonged to us now. The rest of the evening became a carefully orchestrated celebration. We danced, we laughed, we shared stories about the most ridiculous and memorable moments of the party, each story a small victory over Madison's chaos. My friends helped fix the slightly damaged decorations, brought back some of the lost energy, and even salvaged what remained of the toppled cupcakes, turning them into something fun and playful. Madison lingered for a while, trying small, ineffective interruptions, but she had no audience. Every attempt bounced harmlessly off the walls of our reclaimed celebration. Finally, after a long sigh, she slunk to the corner, muttering under her breath, clearly realizing her influence was gone. Chuck and I finally had a moment to ourselves. I felt a wave of relief wash over me, mixed with pure exhaustion. I can't believe it, I said, voice shaking with emotion. After all of that, it's finally okay. He smiled, brushing a strand of hair from my face. See? You didn't need to fight her. You just reminded everyone why this night is yours. I nodded, resting my head against his shoulder. It feels like a miracle. The final moments of the party were surreal in the best way possible. Fairy lights glowed softly overhead, casting warm halos around the room. Laughter, genuine and unforced, filled every corner. Carefully curated music brought joy rather than chaos. It played softly, in the background, guiding friends onto the dance floor. I glanced around at faces I loved, smiles I cherished, and felt a swell of happiness I hadn't thought possible earlier in the night. Chuck stayed close, holding my hand as we watched friends dance and joke. I leaned into him. Thank you for being my rock tonight. I honestly don't know how I would have survived Madison without you. He laughed softly. You would have survived. You're stronger than you think. I just help keep you grounded. We spent some time talking with friends, recalling the disasters and laughing at them in hindsight. Someone mentioned the cupcake incident again, and we all chuckled, turning the memory into a bonding moment rather than a source of stress. Chuck and I even started an impromptu cake salvage project, helping friends frost the salvage cupcakes, turning the ruined dessert into a creative joke later. As the night wound down, I took a quiet moment to myself. Standing under the twinkling fairy lights, looking around at the laughter and joy, I realized just how far the night had come. I felt a deep, satisfying sense of accomplishment. You? No, he said. Most people would have let her ruin everything. But not you. You stayed calm, kept your friends close, and turned the night around. I leaned my head against him, feeling completely at peace for the first time that night. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. Every bit of chaos, every spilled drink. I wouldn't change a thing. We shared the last slices of cake with a few remaining friends, laughing over frosting mishaps and dancing to the final songs. Madison had left by this point, leaving us with our victory and the joy of a birthday reclaimed. Finally, as the last of my friends said their goodbyes, I sank onto the couch with Chuck, exhausted and happy. This is exactly how a birthday should feel. Messy, chaotic, joyful, and completely mine. Chuck held my hand tightly. You did it, Lily. You won. Tonight was perfect because you refused to let anyone take it away. I smiled, letting the tension of the night drain from my body. Against chaos, against frustration, against the storm of Madison's meddling, I had prevailed. The night was mine. And for the first time in hours, I felt completely, undeniably happy, exhausted. Triumphant and content, I whispered, next year. Maybe a quiet birthday at home. And Chuck laughed. But deep down, I knew it didn't matter. No matter what, I survived and thrived through the ultimate birthday nightmare.